Dolly Parton backs Black Lives Matter. Do we think our little white asses are the only ones that matter?
Of
Shout
course
out to
she
Dolly
does.
Parton.
She's a part of the liberal media.
Shout out to Dolly,
She's
man.
a part of Hollywood.
Hey,
We
shout out
live
to
though.
everybody that tuned in to the debate, man. We had a great audience engagement. We definitely appreciate everybody that gave their input, man. Definitely.
Yo, yeah. So we're gonna give it a minute to give people time to come on in here because we are live. This is the chop up. Um, interesting topics for the night. So yeah. I'm just sharing it right now, George, Toya. Yeah, if y'all could do the same. Um, and as usual, when y'all come in here, hit the like button. That's greatly appreciated. Definitely help grow the channel. Hit that love button if you got a little bit of extra love in your heart to go ahead and spread that. You know what I'm
Lisa
saying?
River.
You know,
Hey, man.
you know, we back at it like a bad habit. You know
See
what I
y'all.
mean?
We
You
gonna
know.
the debate real quick. What's up, Elena? What's going down with you? It's been a long time, but I'm happy you pulled up in here. I appreciate you coming through. Most definitely. What's up, Double
We
D?
got Doug in the building. Appreciate you, Doug, for joining us. And again, we are on another off day. I actually went on a little quick vacay to Joshua Tree this Monday. So wasn't able to be a part of the show, but here we are. We couldn't miss out this week, especially after y'all caught that dope debate. You know what I mean? We're gonna announce the winner, which y'all probably already know.
When we gonna get some clips from that? We gonna get some clips from that.
Jada's in the building. We gonna get the clip soon. I mean, well, first off, let me announce it's on Spotify. If you missed the debate, if you did not get a chance to catch the debate live, or if you just want to watch it back,
On Spotify, it's on Apple Music,
on Apple Podcasts, everywhere, wherever you get your podcast, Blog Talk Radio, you are able to catch that debate. Right, it's already up. But we're gonna have more of the clips, more of the highlights coming later this week, along with everything we about to talk about today. You know what I mean?
Quick, if y'all are in the comments, or in the chat, real quick, jump in there and tell me if you listen to the podcast via audio. What do you listen on? Do you listen on Spotify? Are you listening on Apple Podcasts? Like, what are you listening on? I want to know what y'all.
What you on?
Analytics, but I want to know what you using. So drop in the comments and let us know. What's up, Derek? What's up, Ari? We about to
What up, Chris?
Started.
What Ari? Yeah.
Go ahead and bring it in, George. We go ahead and get it cracking.
What's up, George Lee?
Hey, man. Well, bringing it back to y'all again. One more time. Chop Nation, it is I, George Lee, aka Consciously. Don't forget the Lee. GeorgeLeeSpeaks.com. Y'all know who I'm with.
Hey, it's your girl Toya G pulling up, representing Black and Dope. My girl Johnny holding it down from Louisville debate. Definitely got, some fresh gear out there. I wish I had the ad. I'm gonna try to find it for y'all pretty soon, but definitely supporting Black businesses out here, and I get to represent being Black and Dope, so I'm feeling good, feeling great. Who else is with me?
Man, y'all know I'm here. It is the political plug. Of course, here to bring wonderful information. Be here with my peeps. As I like to say, I got my peoples with me. You know what I mean? Getting into this information. Had a wonderful debate yesterday. That was dope. Which we'll get into that when we get into the Snapchat. So yeah, hey, y'all got the chop up twice in 1 week. We in here. You know what I'm saying? So
commitment, baby. We trying to stay tapped in with y'all.
Exactly. But I mean, while we on the topic, let's get into it. For this Snapchat, let's talk about the debate, bro. We might as well announce the winner. It was you said what? Oh yeah, right. As a competitor, yeah, it's only right that you announce the winner of the debate.
It's only right.
It's only right.
All right. Debate over the topic resolved. What is it? At this stage in the election, focusing on vice presidential candidate Kamala Harris's career as a prosecutor is irrelevant. That was I'm echoing on where I'm coming from, but in that debate, Damo was on the affirmative, arguing that the relevance of that particular issue in the context of voting Donald Trump out was not something we could focus on. George, on the other side, was on the negative in that debate. George argued that it's absolutely of utmost relevance, and it's of relevance that we cannot afford to escape or forget about, especially right now with conversations about policing and accountability, and if we hold to Donald Trump to those same standards. the winner of the debate, who had more votes versus the person who lost, who just didn't have as many votes, is Conscious Lee. Took it away. Had some solid arguments.
By a landslide.
Yeah, but I think I can be humble with the I feel like what was in the comment section. You know what I'm saying? I know that I feel like when it comes to voting like that, you feel me? It's like, you know, I feel like it's kind of a popularity contest. I know I got more followers than Damo. I think from a debate perspective, you know what I'm saying? I think that like I go back and forth in terms of arguments that I feel like he didn't get into, that I think that I went for, and I think that arguments because like literally my flow is right here. Like, you know what I'm saying? My flow right here. You feel me? Y'all can't really see it that good, but you know what I'm saying? I can that's his last speech, so I can see the arguments I got circled, and I think that how I answered them is some arguments that I answered of his in my last rebuttal. I think I could have did better. You know what I'm saying?
Definitely.
All right, so to everybody that's watching, where they asking where they could watch the debate, all you got to do is go to the Chop Up Show on Facebook, the Chop Up Show on YouTube, and both the whole thing. The whole thing live.
Just so you see the audio and visual. Now, if you want to just catch it on the ride to work or from work, go to Spotify, go to Apple Podcasts, go to SoundCloud, and it's there for you. You know, education is elevation. We trying to make this shit. We trying to normalize people thinking consciously and politically and things like that. You know,
normalizing it. You know, we be having debates here and there, but we really about to make this a thing that's a component of the Chop Up. So look out for hashtag debate me. You know what I'm saying? Since we can't even be in physical distance with each other, and we've learned over time to use our words instead of our hands and our bodies. We will engage intellectually, but just like you tell a nigga on the street, nigga, fight me. We gonna tell each other debate me. You know what I'm saying?
Exactly.
You talking that drama, you talking crazy. You need to
and before we move on, I do want to say this. And if you got some smoke, if y'all got some smoke out there, if y'all want to get that intellectual work off, let us know. We got the platform for it.
We got moderators too. We got 3 wonderful, lovely moderators that would love to goddamn.
Exactly.
You can't be scared. You gotta know what you're talking about. I gotta come in here with some confidence. You know what I'm saying? You're dealing with people who I'm a career debater. I'm 15 years, 16 years in the game. You know what I'm saying? So you can't come in here sloppy.
Facts.
Shout out to Jack Wayne Bloom. Big love to you for tapping into the debate yesterday. I'm not really a political person, but that debate made me go research her last night. Whatever gets that ball rolling, right? Gets people politically active. These 2 young gentlemen had a great debate when we was first starting out online, when they had a conversation about the Ballot of the Bullet on Conscious Lee's page. And the whole moral of the story was, we ain't saying sit down. Like, it's either the ballot or the bullet. Like, no ballot mean you run to the streets or something like that. I mean, no, your orientation toward then, you know, more communal politics, toward the day-to-day politics, whatever. Your investment has to go even higher through the roof because you're not participating the other way. You know what I'm saying? So that's really what we want to get people thinking about, is just which one are you going to choose? Inactivity is not an option. So in that world, know what you're talking about and pick the ballot or the bullet. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah. Sitting on your ass giving criticism is not what you're supposed to be doing either. It's like, literally, are you getting involved with some community organizing, some grassroots movements, or are you know what I'm saying? Is you doing some political organizing? And Chris X.
Yeah, I was about to say Chris X. Please, bro, hit us in the messages. Hit us in the messages.
Jada,
we would love to have that conversation, bro. Hit us in the messages.
Real quick. I know you tapped in. If you're still in here, you said you went back and flowed the debate. I want to know what your RFD was. You know what I'm saying? Check it out. See what.
Yeah. Who said they flowed the debate? Who said they flowed?
Jada said she floated. Real quick, Twinkle Shanae. Good night to you too. Definitely big love to the East Coast. We know it's late for y'all, so thank y'all for
everybody in New York, man. Shout out to everybody in New York. All 5 of the barrels. I'll be out there soon, man. Hey, when it's round to clear up though, man, my New York people been tapping in with me. I'm gonna be out there. Shout out to everybody in New York.
I'm gonna stop on the way from Cali, pick up George, and we both gonna get out there for real. Cause I need to make a New York trip too. Damo, you coming?
I ain't never been.
I don't really.
Exactly. See,
I don't really fuck with New York like that. I'm not gonna lie.
I ain't never been.
I ain't really never had. That's for another conversation though. That's for another. I mean, I rock with people. You know, New York. Don't get me in trouble, y'all. Anyway, first top of the night. Y'all get me beat up by New York people. Get me stopped in some Timberlands. But get to that top of the night.
Mercy. But nah. You said what about the debate?
No, I'm saying let's get into the first chop of the night.
Let's get into the first chop of the night, and congratulations to the 2 debaters. Both of y'all did a stellar job. I had a great time moderating that. Shout out to the 2 of you. applies on both sides.
Thank you. All right, so let's go ahead and get into it. We're gonna start it out with the political chop. Y'all know my favorite chop, and it's some interesting stories going on today. Kanye is still in these conversations. He's still playing a large role in having an impact on this election, and reports have surfaced over the past day or so that Kanye has been meeting with Jared Kushner.
Oh, can I drop this hot stat before you talk about Jared Kushner?
Please.
The other hot stat I want to put with this in terms of his relevance is I read on the Young Tweeter that Kanye West got 2% of black voters participating, and the retweet said, "Is it just me or is that 2% too high?" And I was like, "Exactly." So with that in mind, knowing that this man is out here making enough of a dent not to be point something, not 2% of black voters. Now let's toss it over to this Jared Kushner analysis, just so we see how ridiculous, wild, and kind of serious this is.
So that's the juxtaposition, right? You have the fact that 2% of black voters are polling in a direction positive to Kanye, while Kanye is meeting with this not only the son-in-law of the president, but also a advisor, a high-level advisor in his cabinet. And this is where like a lot of that nigga shit, all that free thinking shit, and all that shit just start going out the window with me. But before I go on that tangent,
it wasn't never free thinking in the first place, man.
That's what I'm saying. But before I go on that tangent, George,
is free thinking.
When you see headline, Kanye meets with Kushner, headline, 2% of black voters are leaning towards Kanye. What's your initial reaction? What's your first thought?
Man, I'm irritable, and just being like, boy, y'all lost in the sauce of identity politics and bullshit. Because in my mind, it's
what
like,
you mean? Break it down. Elaborate that.
To me, it's like they willing to vote for Kanye West just based off of the fact that I'm sure maybe black hair rapper, but at the same time, it's like, do you know who has been backing him and who has been giving him a lot of the political advice in terms of what ballots you need to do, what papers you fill out? It's like the ops. So if you're gonna
right.
literally the ops, you feel me? And it's like, I don't know how that work. You feel me? Like
I think that's the difficult part of it, because and this is what I was talking about, the danger, y'all. The blurring of the line between who the ops is because of this rhetoric. Mm-hmm. Toya, I know. I mean, you kind of like set the stage for the conversation, pointing out the statistic with the percentage of black voters. But when you make that correlation, what's your initial reaction? Do you say danger? Are you like, is this a nuisance? What's your initial reaction?
It's a dangerous nuisance, and I'm gonna tell you why. For me, I think when you start meeting with Jared Kushner, you can have a lot of people who are like black people specifically who are politically moderately literate, right? Which means they don't know a whole lot of whatever, but they've heard Jared Kushner's name before and know he's important. So it becomes very dangerous that he, in relationship to Kanye, they having conversations, they having meetings, they doing this, that, and the other, because now it goes from him being on the stage where he paid for and he got yes men. We talked about this, right? He just rented out of space. He got yes men. He crying on the stage, having a breakdown, telling all his family business or whatever. That's one thing. But now he's getting meetings with real political leaders. That's a whole separate issue where it's given legitimacy. Like now black people get to be like, well, if Jared Kushner take him serious, I heard his name before, he a real political heavy hitter and they meet.
That's the bad part.
You see what I'm saying? It becomes this very weird, slippery slope.
Buzz, they ain't got a buzz. You gotta know who he is. It's like Jared Kushner. I seen that on TNE. Fox News one time.
The hotline, y'all, over the last few weekends has been the fact that it's been exposed that Donald Trump and Kanye is in cahoots. That this has all been a plan and part of the plot to fracture the Republican ballot so much so, or fracture voters so much so that a vote for Joe Biden and Kamala Harris can't be just cut and dry, right? So, like,
can we attach it to the conversation that we had though? Like, just like you were saying, like how we were just talking about that, and now we're literally saying this person who the basis of our problem with them being involved in politics, supporting their blackness, but seeing that there's some mental issues going on. This mentally unstable individual is having conversations with high-level White House advisors in a direct effort to influence black voters away from Joe Biden? Like, it's ultimately, how can you be so free thinking if there's this obvious plot to manipulate your sensibilities and you fall for it that easy? Help me understand, because I was saying, like, this is dangerous. This way of thinking is dangerous. You feel me? Like we saying he got mental issues, but like now the niggas having campaign rallies. Now he's meeting with high level advisors. At what point? I say at what point, but what do we do?
I mean, at this, in a real world of where this is happening, all we can kind of do is push political literacy as much as possible and shake some of these people and their consciousness to the core and hope that the dent is not going to be bad enough. What's really terrible about all of this is a whole lot of this is duck and cover. A whole lot of this is brace for impact. There's no
once it gets going.
How do we out navigate the idiots that are willing to vote for Kanye West and the idiots that are willing to vote for Donald Trump still? How? It's how you just got to brace for impact and hopefully
through the fact, like everybody said in the comment section, when people like the baby is saying like I vote for Kanye West, it's like, fam, it's too many freshly 18-year-old Gen Zers, man, that just wanna. I'm saying I want the shit with that bop in it. They gonna because they want the shit with the bop in it. They're gonna do anything to make it.
But you know what? It's
influence.
But that brings me to the next part of this before we move on to the next chop, our next part of the political chop. Do the people that saying this, do they vote though? And if it gets them to vote, and it like during a time where they typically wouldn't, how dangerous is that? Because it's like, if somebody's voting for Kanye based on Harriet Tubman,
they going to the
ballot. But that's what I'm saying. If that's the way that the conversation is going, like, and it's galvanizing people, like they getting up and they saying, I'm gonna go into this I'm gonna put forth the effort to cast a ballot for Kanye to sway this shit.
What about him?
I think that I feel like it's kind of a double-edged sword to me, a part of how I kind of see about it, because on one instance, like, it is dangerous, because like in a big picture, only two people gonna have the really opportunity to win. Now, are there other candidates? Yeah, there's an independent party, somebody running for the independent party. I'm sure there's, some third party candidate along with Kanye West as well. So there are other options. I see that. You know what I'm saying? It's like, yeah, you gotta vote, and as long as you vote, it's like, yeah, I see that, but I see how I think that on like a surface level, both arguments about just voting and voting for Kanye West, how sometimes it just kind of devolve into some petty shit.
Yeah, but ultimately, that's what I'm saying. Like, if we sit up here talking about like elections being as close as they have been in the past, and we're saying like, it's a question of 1% to 2% that's swaying entire states, that's where that becomes dangerous. Like, that's where we can get in, not even to get into the high political science, Duberger's law and the role that plays in.
Keep it simple though. It's like, if I'm in goddamn Illinois, you feel me? And Illinois last election, Donald Trump only won by 6%, 2%, 5%. What does it mean for a few people to be mobilized and say, I'm voting for West 2020 in the state of Illinois? What does that mean for the state of Illinois, for all of the electoral votes that go for the state of Illinois to either all go to the Democratic Party or all go to the Republican Party? So
but then when you got like, I don't know, I'll say this, and then we can get to even more ridiculous news in politics today. Ultimately, when they using like black cultural icons to like as puppets to undermine other,
I'm going Malcolm X every time. I'm going Malcolm X every time with that shit. Like, look at the individuals they choose to run our community, and look at the people they choose to run their community. The white community would never let a country rapper, a country star run their community. A white community would never let a white actor run their community, except for Ronald Reagan, right? Or Donald Trump, right? You know what I'm saying? But in terms of just being a pure entrepreneur, that's not something you do. You feel me? Our community, they pick comedians and rappers and actors and ball players, and it's like, hey, man, Sometimes you got to recognize people with their craft and what their expertise is. And when and being able to recognize expertise, you have to recognize what people's weaknesses is. And sometimes it's like, hey, that's not your strength. And I'm not saying you're not a bad person, not saying you're not smart, not saying you're intellectual, but it's like, hey, you feel me? Kanye West don't need to be president, man. Charles Barkley don't need to be president, man.
Yeah, that's straight
Play
up.
the
Toya,
truth.
you want
Dope nigga be in the streets, but he don't need to be president, man. I don't need to be president, man.
Toya, you want to give last words on that before we move on to the next part?
I mean, I'm kind of tapping into the comments where Jerron says hip hop always had influence over young voters. Obama won with heavy support from Hov and Diddy. We just have shittier options this time around. And I don't completely necessarily disagree with that. But I also think hip hop has like a captivating and culture changing. And as we've seen, like not just our culture, but literally pop culture changing capacity to really talk about some real shit and really mobilize some real shit. And I think hip hop uniquely misses the mark every single time. Even the conversations we were having about Barack Obama were not like real conversations. And keep in mind, they were the same conversations everybody else was having.
You said we missed the mark, Toya?
Hip hop misses the mark every single time, right? There is a lack of continuity between the communal struggles that people express and kind of talk about in the multiplicity of ways we can go out there and deal with it and it's just, I struggle with hip hop being an influential factor. We could have talked about WAP today, which we won't, but I struggle with it. I mean, think about it. We didn't get to be storytellers, right? And get to contrive experiences and really, what is it called? Almost make a caricature out of the small stuff. You didn't really walk in the room and what Soulja Boy. Hey,
and WAP is #1 in 41 countries right now.
I believe it, but you didn't really do that. But you get to rap about that type of shit. But women, when they want to be a little bit more verbose about the sexual conquest that they have, then all of a sudden it's just, you can't talk about that. Well, what happened? I thought we was just.
Snoop Dogg said, "Bitches ain't shit but hoes and tricks. Bitches ain't shit but."
Yeah, I mean, there's definitely.
Ultimately, I deviated to WAP to simply say that while hip hop has had an influential role on politics, and definitely it has its role in what we know to be politics and activisms and things like that. When it comes to this particular sector of politics, hip hop has missed the mark. Everything from Hov and Diddy and the Just Vote or Die campaign, which is not even a real option that niggas have. Like, I have more options than voting or dying. Like, you don't have to lie about the situation to get me to participate in politics. Like, don't lie.
You're funny.
But right? Like, it's just, I'm not happy with hip hop and how they deal with politics in a lot of different ways. And this
is an example of that.
Yeah. That's another really big component of how hip hop misses the marks on politics. Because if you really get out there and get politically dirty, hip hop artists gonna miss some money. Because you're going to awaken a public in a society who's not going to fall for the bullshit you be selling them. So it's all connected, and it's the reason why hip hop misses the mark.
Hey, that's a good way to transition. The next part of the political chop that we're talking about, the next story that we're going to discuss is really messed up. The racism is already starting to display itself. And this is interesting. So what we have is a Virginia mayor is being urged to resign after being quoted as saying that Biden picked Aunt Jemima as his VP. Mayor Barry Pressgrave.
I'm coming to myself. You said that the Virginia somebody a person.
To be clear, his name it's Luray, Virginia. His name is Mayor Barry Pressgraves. Mm-hmm. And he did backtrack. He said, "I understand what I posted on social media was wrong, offensive, and unbecoming." But he is still facing calls for his resignation. And this is after he posted on Facebook that Joe Biden just announced Aunt Jemima as his running mate. Respond, please. Already fresh off the presses.
I think that if you couple this with already the birther shit being kind of weaponized against her, I think that it's just like wild identity politics that's structured. I feel like to me, I feel like it's levels to identity politics. I think there's a certain level of identity politics that's structured into into American political system. But we have to, I feel like, really give it authenticity tests about who's really American, and we see who get the really American test and who get the pass off the rip. Just we know you American. We're gonna pick something else at you, and it's just like
I mean, but this though, like, I mean, look at we're just now getting, we're like, what, we a day off of 2 days off of this announcement?
2 days.
And I mean, you have and these are leaders of people, of cities. This is a mayor. I mean, are we shocked by the quickness by which they really felt like somebody, they felt like saying that's okay? Like when you read them headlines, Toya, what is your, I mean, because this is in the context of like the conversation that we're having as Black people about why we shouldn't vote for her, why she did all of these things, why all these problems, right? All these issues that we have with her. How do we juxtapose that now, seeing these headlines and seeing her being attacked by the racists? What's the response?
I mean, as a Black woman, I am ever so perpetually, conflicted, right? Because I mean, not necessarily about the comments about Angel Mama, like that's predictably racist and problematic and all this kind of terrible and trash, right? But my thing is, when you do you get what you sign up for? Like, I'm not saying she deserves it, and I'm not, by any means insinuating that. What I'm saying is, you put yourself in a line of fire. You have kind of the capacity to magnetize a lot of attention, and to be surprised for what? Like, I don't, to be surprised for what? She's already caught amidst, it's controversial and it's problematic and it's fucked up. But for me to pretend to be surprised at political leaders, the same leaders who mishandle COVID, that are like, and she's kind of trapped into, it's not anything that she's doing, but she's trapped in a vortex of criticism because of who she is. She a Black woman in politics. Like, waste time being surprised for what? It's all predictable. It's just, I don't know.
So how do you help us understand the approach then to addressing, like, which one is, and I mean, kind of bringing back what we was talking about earlier, which one is more important at this point? And like, first Toya, then George, this conversation about her being being the prosecutor and everything that she did as the top cop, right? Mm-hmm. Or defending a Black woman representing Black people on this national stage from blatant attempts of racism. Toya first.
Which one
do we prioritize? We can't do them both.
I mean, you know what? I think in a world where the cut and dry orientation, it's hard. It's hard.
We can't do them both.
We can't. And so it's hard because I think my gut tells me to ride for a Black woman, right? My gut tells me under all circumstances, unacceptable, just kind of hard line, ride for a Black woman, period. The other part of my gut tells me that it's some unforgivables, right? And so how do I navigate your power, the way you use how you've been a prosecutor, how you defended your policing, the state of current policing, and like George mentioned in the debate, us needing answers and change right now. What have you done lately, or what you gonna do, or whatever? Show me a good time, I think was the mantra of the debate yesterday, right? And so all of that shit is true too, but you damned if you do and damned if you don't, because even if she wasn't the police at this level in the game, she was going to be scrutinized for something. If it was Stacey Abrams, they was going to be like this rookie, this elementary, basic ass, unqualified, waste of time, waste of space. This is all just pandering to the Black vote. So the only reason we're not having that conversation is because she's who she is. So it's like, and this is Rashad's post. If y'all go look back at my Chopper post that we posted a little bit earlier, we see the binary. Right? Nate says, am I really supposed to gravitate toward this woman when she did all this bad shit to Black women, to Black people, because she looked like my auntie? Or do I not recognize the fact that Kamala Harris wouldn't even be in a position to be vice president if she wasn't shit like a senator and a prosecutor? And
like, if she didn't have to occupy again, and this is where I think this is where I think to what you're saying, Toya, where we kind of summed it up yesterday in the debate, is how do you operate in a position, in a role, in an institution of anti-Blackness when it demands that you participate in anti-Blackness? That's the job.
And see, the hard part of what I see,
that's that resilience though.
Kayla and Malachi and all of them are like, do both. What does that mean when it's time to vote? Like that's the flip floppy. Like what is it? I get one ballot, and one time to reckon with my conscience and kind of navigate with it. It's like what is that? What does perm mean materially? Perm, yes, I get it. Everybody got to do this, that, and the other. But what does that mean for me?
And shout out to Nate. Definitely appreciate it, like your post and how it added that contrast earlier. And he says you can't do both. You can never do both. You can never do both. It's like it's literally the impossibility of blackness.
He said you can do neither, do both.
Shut up. but I mean, how do you address that though, George? How do you which one? I mean, specifically, what you saying that that you taking the position that it's her past is so relevant. How do we what do we prioritize in a world where we know that these racists are going to come at her full steam? Do we prioritize protecting her from the racists, or do we focus on these questions of accountability that you posed yesterday?
I think that we focus on the more accountability. I think that the racists, in terms of the ballot, I don't see the racists being swayed. Like me protecting Kamala from racists doesn't get Kamala more ballots from my perspective. And the racist people that's launching attacks against Kamala Harris, they mind already made up. They was never gonna vote for Kamala Harris, and the people that listen to them, in my opinion, probably wasn't gonna vote for Kamala Harris too. Like I'm pretty sure the mayor of Virginia, they said that whatever they said, however many votes they got in their little district in their little city of Virginia, I'm willing to bet money that at least 90% of them people was never ever thinking about voting for Kamala Harris. In my mind, it's people like Nate that I want to get. You know what I'm saying? Nate has the criticism of accountability. So in my opinion, Nate is more likely to vote for Kamala Harris than any racist piece of shit in Virginia. So I'm willing to have the conversation with Nate about accountability to figure out how to get this brother to the ballot booth and fuck them racist people. They go, a racist, listen, the sky's blue, dogs bark. A racist gonna be racist.
Gonna be a racist.
For them things at all.
Let's get to these comments though.
Yeah, because I want to.
That's how I think anyway.
Particular comment, and it's Kayla's, and that's because I'm still not, and I'm not putting it on you to resolve the conflict. But then you're like, and this is what we were kind of starting to. This is
you talking about the perm? You talking about the perm?
Right. Kayla says all these complexities Black women have to operate in. I can hold her accountable and call out racist, and call out racist, and you can, right? But my question becomes, what does that accountability materialize as?
It's a trade-off.
The highest level.
To me, the ballot. To me, it's like trying to get. To me, it's trying to get people like me and like Nate to the ballot. And in my opinion, Nate, we have more power and more influence and persuasion to be able to maybe get Nate to go to the ballot than any racist talking shit about Kamala.
And here's why hold her accountable is such a weird kind of thing for me to wrap my mind around, because what does that look like? We can put her on all the Black shows we want to and grill her about her policing and see the God in the breakfast show and make her talk to these Black people. But when she get in their meetings, she get to lean on the fact that she know how that stuff works and she gonna do what she know to do. So hold her accountable. What that mean? Make her sit down and listen as we go off on her about being a bad Black prosecutor and being the police. And then she say, okay. And then she still go make her decisions. The only way to truly hold her accountable would be to take away her power to perpetuate anti-Blackness, right? So that's the conflict. Because what does it mean to hold her accountable in the first place? Yeah, I want to fight for my sister. Like Jerome, I got to fight for her. She's a sister we should fight for. I want to fight for my sister. But when it comes to holding her accountable, she's in politics. I
think I got the two specific questions that she was asked during the Democratic primary, specifically about her track record. Literally, she was asked by the woman, her last name was like it was like two other women. What was the other woman's name that was also running for a Democratic president? She asked Kamala a specific question.
You're talking about not Marianne Williamson.
The other
Elizabeth Warren or Amy Klobuchar.
Klobuchar asked Kamala a question specifically about, you know what I'm saying, her time at being an attorney general. And specifically asked her about what would she do as president to be able to try to remedy some of the things she did as attorney generals. Kamala's response was she don't think she did anything wrong and that she was X, Y, and Z. In my opinion, the accountability is answering that question and being able to say, I think doing this, this, and this.
Okay, but see, this is the problem, right? Because I think what Nate addressed is really actually answering the question that niggas is really skirting around. Well, and that's how do you do both? For example, it's an election season. It's an election year. She doesn't have the position yet. She still got to win that thing. Yeah. And so when we talk about doing both, like how do we galvanize people to support her, to lift her up, to help defend her from the racists, when while the racists are doing what they're doing, we're bombarding her with the criticism that we feel like, well, you ain't been good enough at this and you ain't been good enough at that. And while we're doing that, we're allowing her opponents to compound her, the person that's running on our behalf, with that same mess.
Is she running on our behalf like that? I mean,
that's the pinnacle.
I mean, but ultimately, but
is he implying that, or is it very directly, articulately being kind of shaped?
That's the accountability part that I'm talking about. Like transparency in terms of what are you doing, what are you standing for? There's been a lot of wishy-washy in terms of policy, in terms of politics, and in terms of what you're saying, in terms of when you get in these interviews.
I mean, what are you saying? This is what happened.
You know what?
I think we get a whole lot more than what he's actually saying.
And I hate to cut you off, but I think we get this is the next topic. We're getting too much into the next topic.
Let me say this one thing about like some of the things that still frustrate me, right? Because I'm gonna call out your comment because here's the problem.
Which comment?
You say we have a couple of no, not that comment. Malachi says, no, accountability isn't removing her from power, but telling her she needs to redeem herself. So if we materialize what this means, check this out. You say, nah, it's not removing her from power. That means we get to allow her to be vice president, right? Which means her history in law enforcement may mean Joe Biden might say, okay, so you handle this policing issue that we have in this country, whatever. She gets 4 years to make dicey, messed up decisions in the orientation toward Black people and ends up maybe doubling down at worst. At best, not fixing nothing and just letting it be business as usual. At worst, making it worse. And then the next time I get to hold her accountable is saying, you can't be president. Well, nigga, she was already vice president. We already gave her more leeway. So when does the accountability kick in?
This where that no name tweet come in.
You know what?
To redeem yourself on top of you being a career police officer, a prosecutor. Like, what am I giving you more time for? Just make that part make sense to me. Why do you get to redeem yourself for 4 more years and then I'll get you? Like,
I'll say this. And
what cost is the redeeming? But this is why I agree with Damo in terms of and Nate. Because they're making two different arguments essentially, but it's still like, what does it mean to do both, and what does it mean still to hold accountable? I can agree wholeheartedly of we still have to kind of develop illustrate what that means to hold one accountable. And I think that the model of accountability in our community, not only for people in power but for each other, is one thing that we lack. And I feel like sometimes spend a lot of time hurting, killing, brutalizing, messing each other up because our messed up, to me, instances of accountability.
Can I ask you real quick about this before I know we're trying to move on, but I got a question because Dominique, I feel like I asked you this question. I want to ask both of y'all this and the people in the chat. Yeah. If Kamala Harris came out tomorrow and said, everybody, I've been doing a lot of thinking, a lot of soul searching, talking to the right people finally, and I've seen the light. I am sorry. I messed up. What I did in terms of policing was bad and wrong. I can do better. I will do better. Forgive me. Is that accountability to y'all? Is that enough to convince you that she should be assuaged or something? If she comes out with an apology, which is not a move politicians make, by the way. Politicians don't.
I'm into with some debate shit. It's a step in the right direction and a good move. God damn it.
I want to
know. For my vote, yeah. I think that to me, when I say accountability, I know as an adult, if someone
wants an apology,
you're able to hold them accountable for what they say. You know what I'm saying? And Kamala recognizes that. In my opinion, she recognizes that. And that's one of the reasons why when she's been grilled on it multiple times, she has rewritten history. I was a progressive prosecutor. No, I didn't really do that. It wasn't really like that. I didn't do anything wrong. I did my good job. I think she recognizes that if she acknowledges in verb and speech that she did something wrong, she's going to be held accountable to it. I think everybody in the public recognizes that in terms of being a public figure. Whether you got a little small Instagram following or whether you're the president, you recognize when you put things in speech and you say it publicly, you held accountable to that. Even though dumbass Donald Trump recognized that. Today he was asked. So Donald Trump, how do you feel about lying to the people for these last 4 years? Donald Trump said, who lying? Donald Trump said, he recognized there's no way for him to answer that question and not be held accountable for his lying ass ways. To me, this mean language is important.
Let me say this, and because we gonna get back on Kamala. We have not left that alone. We're gonna get back to that. I'm gonna say this, and we're gonna get to the last story of this evening for the political chop. We have to understand the context that the conversation is happening in. I think Jerron made a comment earlier about having these conversations behind closed doors, which is something I'm completely okay with. But when we talk about in the context of an election,
encourage Jerron. Shout out to everybody in New Orleans, man.
Hey,
too. But listen, encourage the back.
But that's what I'm saying. Ultimately, though, in the context of an election, when we had you're not talking about accountability if you're only talking about one of the candidates' history. That's why even in the debate yesterday, when we was talking about Donald Trump, the reason why I said Donald Trump's history was irrelevant was because she wins that. You bringing up Trump and Pence and their record in comparison to Kamala Harris and Joe Biden and their record, it's a wash. It's a wash.
No, she wins. That's why
but I'm saying she win that. And so ultimately that's something that worked to her advantage, because you would still say I would rather have Kamala in these problems than Trump and Pence, what they bring and the worst that they could be, especially going into a second term, knowing they don't got to worry about a re-election. You know what I'm saying? So we just always remember the context that we have in the conversation, and the criticism is always valid. But if the criticism takes away from the possible growth and success, then that's a problem. The last story we're gonna get into is a story about the unemployment crisis that we have going on. Again, I like to touch on these little things that have to do with COVID. And a study came out recently that explained how the extra $600 that we had got in unemployment from the, what was it called, the relief bill or whatever. The study showed that it actually did not make people more lazy. You feel me? The study showed that people actually still wanted to go back to work. Nobody was not going back to work. Study showed that specifically when in instances of short-term layoffs, people were actually quicker to not use the majority of their benefits, their unemployment benefits, and actually only used on average, up into what they could use, what they needed until they went back to work. Right. So we had these narratives associated with these people which is pretty much holding up the entirety new relief bill going into the second or the last quarter of the year. There is no relief bill currently, and Congress is actually going in recess until September. Now,
8th.
Excuse me?
September
8th. So starting with you, Toya, help me understand how these narratives get pushed, how these narratives get started, the purpose of them specifically in an election season from your perspective, and the impact you think that they have.
Which narratives? The narratives that people
that people were being lazy. That giving people this additional money would make them not want to go back to work.
Let's be honest about it, right? So if we use Cat Williams' logic, which was from one of his stand-ups, I forget which one, but he was talking about how, in terms of like social issues or whatever, it's gonna come a time when we really gonna start seeing people become niggas. You know what I'm saying? Like you being niggified. You know what I'm saying? Like all of a sudden, the nigginess becomes transferable, and white people and non-black people will all of a sudden start to see what black people been complaining about all along, right? I think in the same ways we start to see that transference of nigginess onto people who are suffering from unemployment.
To be niggerized.
Well, you're being niggerized, you know what I'm saying? Because who is the welfare queens? Who is being, articulated as the one sucking up social services and being lazy and being whatever. And so now we've just kind of cross-applied that to different people who become leeches and drains on the systems without explaining how they got there in the first place, without understanding the argument they're not lazy, it's their social conditions. Again, how do we get to that narrative? It's an old playbook, right? It's just, we just kind of cross-apply that shit in the logic of Cat Williams to everybody else who gets to qualify for a nigga for the day. So that's how the narrative ends up expanding.
Good.
Shit, I ain't got much to add to that. Just like that's what it is. It's just like, I think when it comes to just a pure economic understanding in America, I think there is structured to really have a prejudice against poor people. And I think any way to justify or rationalize poor people having less or getting the short end of the stick. I think a lot of people kind of fall into it. And I believe no matter what the reality is, it seems like a lot of people really be lost in the sauce of capitalism. And as long as the bourgeoisie, people in ruling class, the people that sign their checks, is telling them a specific narrative, the people, I feel like us workers, we're going to buy into the narrative is what I find. How many of y'all have seen them old dumbass tweets or, you know what I'm saying, memes about, y'all complaining about them taking away $400. If you ain't started, LLC or you ain't been saving no money, then you just been this, that, and the other. It's like you congratulations, you have drank the Kool-Aid.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? You got all these people out here, they tired of, you know what I recognize is that a lot of people is ready, they tired of sitting in the house. You feel me? And it's like, what? Tired of sitting in the house. And I think that because I know that's a reality, but I still see the reality of people being like, hey, yo, people just being lazy, y'all mismanaging money, this, that, and the other. It showed me like, boy, capitalism is messed up. You inherited it. You internalized it.
And let me tell you, go ahead, Don.
No, go ahead, because I was going to kind of move it forward. I mean, still on the same topic, but go ahead.
The gotcha about all of this COVID and the unemployment and the innocent bystanders that are a direct result of the government's handling of this particular pandemic show the intersection between anti-blackness and capitalism, what we call racial cap. You know what I'm saying? We call it racial capitalism. So we are living and seeing what happens when we play this zero-sum game that is, here's the key word for the night, disproportionately affecting Black and brown people. The perfection of systems like anti-blackness times capitalism and how it seeks out Black people specifically means, of course, it's going to be some casualties. It's going to be some friendly fire. It's going to be people, because remember, who's most affected by the coronavirus in terms of infections and death? Black and brown
Black people.
Black people. Who works in most service industry jobs or jobs that are people workers outside of our Black people, right? So the system is being perfected. The mishandling of this virus, the way that it targets a particular group of people, and then you have the intersections of capitalism and anti-blackness. We got some innocent bystanders in terms of white or non-Black people who are being done over by this system. But this is chickens coming home to roost, because again, the system was always created to be disproportionately worse to Black and brown people. You know what I'm saying? So it's just a shame that we got these casualties around it, but the system is working just fine. You know what I'm saying? So what's happening? The system is working just fine.
Fact. So and to tap it off, let's go ahead and give a reason why, you know what I'm saying, people aren't returning to work. Because I think what's even more dangerous is that we placing this blame and saying people aren't going back to work when the reality is the jobs aren't there. So what it's saying here is that a growing body, and this is an article on CNBC. It says a growing body of research has shown no such correlation between boosted unemployment pay and people not returning to work. A Yale report published in July, for example, found that the extra $600 is not the primary reason people are or are not working. Rather, the most important factor in whether people return to work was the availability of jobs. We think the reason the lack of difference is that the scarce job opportunities rather than labor supply has been the main factor in determining employment during the pandemic. While some people may have chosen not to look for work because of the generosity of unemployment benefits, the dominating factor in unemployment levels has been low labor demand. So what makes this so dangerous is that you have people literally focused on blaming the victims of these crises for literally in a reality where there is nothing that they can do. Like, it's creating a scapegoat out of the people that are suffering from the worst circumstances of the pandemic. Like, you don't just look up and think, all right, by the end of this year, I'm not gonna have my job, right? And that's what you're seeing with the mass layoffs. That's what you're seeing with the even in terms of short-term layoffs, businesses closing. Like, this whole thing has destroyed small businesses. And on the backdrop of small businesses being destroyed, on the backdrop of people being unemployed, you got the government, Republicans specifically, but I know how niggas get, so I'm gonna just say the government pushing a narrative on the people, and then at the same time allowing major corporations to suck up all the benefits for the small businesses that are collapsing. You know what I mean? That's dangerous. Like, that's when we talk about certain conspiracies, and when we talk about the danger of what the government is doing. I mean, yeah, we can look at Kamala and we can have our issues and we with what all of these politicians are doing, but ultimately there is a much bigger danger that's operating in our federal government right now. And like Toy, I don't know, you said it was your homegirl or somebody that you said that like it's all like every battle, you can't fight every battle right now.
Mm-hmm.
You know what I mean? It's a question of prioritizing. And like, you know, in terms of these numbers, these studies, that's hey, like saying stop blaming the unemployed. These are the narratives that we got to push back on in order to make sure that these impacts don't compound themselves. Go ahead, Toya.
I mean, a great example of that is what Kayla's talking about in the comments. She says definitely seeing essential workers being pitted against those getting unemployment, and it's like you don't even realize how messed up the system is when you poor calling somebody else poor.
Yeah.
Like it's the same way. Like, how do you be upset with somebody for getting unemployment when you qualify for a refund check or a relief check? Y'all poor, you poor. You got the poor people money. If you got that $1,200, you got the poor people cut. You know what I'm saying? So you ain't got no room to criticize what people getting the extra $600 is doing because y'all on the same boat. From the perspective of the decision makers, Senate.
See, I know, but to add another layer to it, I know that people in Oklahoma and then people in Texas, the beef, the essential workers versus unemployment, people that's getting unemployment, it's like the other way around. The people that's working is like, damn, we risking our lives to get the coronavirus and we ain't getting paid nothing extra at all. You motherfuckers sitting at home and ain't risking nothing, and y'all getting coronavirus and y'all getting the extra money, you know what I'm saying, because of the coronavirus. And that's what I see the beef is going on. But it's still like, so we arguing over the crumbs right here, and they got the bread truck over there. They got the loaves of bread over there. We still arguing over the crumbs over here. Word, bet, got it.
The whole point is poor people arguing with poor people about poor people shit, and we not recognizing that Cheyenne says, look at whose wealth is increasing all the while, right? Like other people is making money, whole industries is taking off, business is booming for some people. Jeff Bezos, stay home, push the button. Stay home and push. Stay home.
Oh, y'all don't have to leave to shop.
You said you want another versus battle before that. You know what I'm saying? Like, oh, do it. You know what I'm saying? So it's people winning, and it's not us bickering or arguing with each other about how this little bit of money being spread around at all.
Yeah,
it's just not.
I mean, it's like this is that class trader type, you know what I mean, arguments. I mean, we can get into the whole proletariat bourgeoisie and how racism, the racial hierarchy helped disguises that, which is why we end up fighting each other, right? Because, I mean, living in a capitalist society, we want to be those people. We want to be Jeff Bezos. So because we want to be Jeff Bezos, we're okay with the existence of Jeff Bezos. Because if somebody told you couldn't be Jeff Bezos, you would say you infringing on my freedoms. Mm-hmm. And so because we want that, like we want to hoard wealth like that, we allow
capitalism, man.
Yeah, that's how that should go. But yo, that's the political chop. That was dope. I like that political chop. We got them in quick. But George Lee, consciously, let's go ahead and get into this conscious chop. Whenever you as you get yourself situated.
Yeah, man. So we know people say, is you black enough? Or, you know, some people be like, man, they too black, you know, and some people be like, I'm blackity black and I'm black, y'all, you know. But this conscious chop, man, we're going to be exploring the black identity, you know. And before I add too much context to it, I'm just curious in general, you know, we're going to go like my English used to say, you feel me? General to specific. Just out of curiosity to the people in the comments and to the co-host, what is your parameters of blackness, or how do you define like who black and how to get to be black in y'all lives?
Parameters of blackness.
Parameters.
Go ahead, tell you.
Well, I'm gonna go first. Parameters. Go ahead.
Yeah, because I feel like when anytime somebody discussing parameters, you know what I mean, I like to hear. I'd rather go after you. With
the definition that I always go for when things are a little bit more ambiguous than I like. It's the definition we know for pornography. You know it when you see it.
Yeah. You know when you see it.
Man, you know when you see it.
But you know when you see it. And you know that ain't it when that ain't it. And so
when that ain't it.
There are what we call maxims, you know, which are unwritten laws or standards that we have. And those are negotiable depending on who you're talking to. I know one thing, talking about what it means to be black for somebody from Kansas City is going to be a far different conversation than somebody from the East Coast and somebody from the West Coast. And
somebody from the South.
Yeah, it's a lot easier for me. And that's what's wild is it's easier for me to answer the question who can say nigga and who can't than it is for me to tell you who's a nigga and who can't. And I can't explain why. I probably could if I thought about it for a while, but it's really weird.
I mean, really
weird because it seemed like the one that you had easier time explaining would be much harder to explain. It seemed like.
I mean, maybe it's better. You can say that if your ancestors were enslaved. So I guess you black if your ancestors was enslaved. I don't like.
But you know, people get childish and start being like, well, you know, Irish were slaves and they had
slaves
all around the world.
Irish wasn't slaves though.
They had slaves all around the world, Toya. But
or you know what? It'd be some petty shit like, well, are you saying Nelson Mandela wasn't black because he wasn't a slave?
Nah, when that nigga South African,
context is important because and this is why I can't really say is because there are certain situations where we're talking about what does it mean or is this person black or whatever, and that's because blackness is being projected onto them, and it's like let's really recognize what's happening here. And the other side of it is the self-identifying component of blackness, where you get the I ain't black versus I am black versus I'm not black, I'm Puerto Rican, or I'm not black, I'm Dominican, right? That's kind of been a running joke on Instagram, on New York Twitter has been like this whole disconnect that a lot of dark Dominicans have about being black versus being Dominican, and them trying to occupy that versus the nigga side of them, which is more obvious than I guess they understand or believe or whatever, right? So it's kind of split contextually. Are we talking about blackness being projected onto somebody and whether or not they black, or are we talking about self-identifying with blackness? That becomes part of the tiebreaker for me.
I think mine is a little bit more.
That's how we wanted to question. Yeah,
mine is a little bit more clear. I feel like it's clear cut because I think it's just so understood. But I mean, ultimately, it may be confusing to others. Because the way I look at it is, I mean, one, definitely it's the culture. Like black is the culture. It's your proximity to the culture. It's your relationship to the culture, right? Like you got, for example, black people, or we were birthed out of a particular phenomenon. And so if you have an attachment to that phenomenon, right, the chattel slavery, that's what make you black, right? And it's about how the society responds to you. The way that the society treats you based on the circumstances of slavery, the circumstances that morphed out of slavery into Jim Crow and all the other shit that we deal with. If you are impacted and experienced, you know what I'm saying, and come from the culture that was birthed out of that, then you black. Simple as that.
Well, all right.
I mean, it's simple as that. Now outside of the parameters though, I got a question for y'all. Or George, hold on. What is your parameters though? You didn't speak on your parameters.
Man, for me, I like to base it off of kind of two things. You know what I'm saying? I don't want to just repeat what Toya said, because I feel like it'd be a cop out a little bit. Like pornography, you can't really define it, but you know when you see it. But also, I think too, it's like does the world view you as black? Like when you walk through the world, do you have to navigate the world as a black? You know what I'm saying? A black body in terms of, and I don't like to make it was just about phenotype. Shout out to my racially ambiguous black people. But I do think that having a phenotype of, you know what I'm saying, black, and having dark skin or some type of pigmentation in your skin, melanin in your skin, where the world identifies you in some way, shape, or fashion in being black, I think that there's some uniqueness in terms of how you know what I'm saying, get to come to the black identity, in my opinion. I don't like to play the authenticity game that much, but you know.
Now, so that leads to the next point, the question that I want to ask y'all in terms of those, like having those parameters. That means that there has to be, or y'all tell me, do y'all think because y'all have those parameters that y'all then create that there is some form of black authenticity testing? Where do y'all stand in terms of like, so when y'all say you know it when you see it, Toya, what? So you're saying that
when you see it,
yeah, like there's some circumstances where you like that ain't it, right?
I don't think here's the thing. Like, when it comes to authenticity testing, I don't think I'm that invested in anybody else's life in any way to be the authenticity tester for you. Like, if you don't want to be black, then cool. If you want to identify with black, but you do some anti-black shit, then you can just do that version of your black shit over there. You know what I'm saying? Like, I'm always in a position not to have to authenticity test you. I can let you kind of live and be and just decide how I navigate myself around your interpretation or rendition of blackness. You know what I'm saying? So I think me having the power to authenticity somebody is the very narcissistic kind of component of anti-blackness that we feed into in the first place. Like, I got the power to be like, nah, you ain't this, you ain't real black. Like, who am I? What you know what I'm saying? I just have not deputized myself with that power. I'm just that disinterested in that. I'm like, and this is always gonna be interpersonal. And here's why I'll say our authenticity test. If I'm like, that's not my flavor, that's not my brand of black, right? Because blackness is not monolithic. It's huge. It's diasporic. Dare I say it's diasporic? I think that is a word.
The multiplicity of blackness is principle.
So, understanding that means I can just say, I don't have any context for that. It's real. I can respect it. I can dignify it and move over here with it because I don't have the power to put you through the ringer about that shit in the first place and be okay and sleep well at night.
Where you at, George?
I think that I feel like
so she's so respectful. You're so welcoming. I appreciate your spirit. Go ahead, George.
For me, I feel like on one end, I ain't really invested in either, but on one end, it's like Rachel Dolezal, I ain't trying to hear it. You know what I'm saying? So, I don't even know how to put that in words to make the distinction. You feel me? Because on one end, is always in many instances like, shit, you don't want to be black? Okay, it's you. It sounds like you got it's a personal decision for you to make, and a personal problem for you.
I will say this: I do think y'all are copping out just a little bit. I think y'all copping out.
Nah, I said Rachel Dolezal. I'm not trying to hear.
But see, that's the easy. That's the easy. We know Rachel Dolezal, George.
Yeah,
so we know Rachel Dolezal.
Contextualize the thing because I think you've left it kind of big for me to be comfortable being like, well, I ain't gotta do nothing because.
I did. And that's why it's okay. The low hanging fruit is there. It's low hanging for a reason. To be picked.
I wanted that.
But
I think I just, you know what? I thought about on some debate shit, man. Shout out to this debater, man. You know what? Usually I wouldn't try to be this petty, man, but this when I first got into debate. Debater from NYU, his name was Stormy. You know what I'm saying? And I'll never forget this shit. Stormy hit us with I'm 1/8 black. And when I tell you, everybody in the room looked at him like, nigga, what? and he was serious, dead ass serious. You feel me? And I remember when I was young, I was like, I didn't really care about it, but I definitely I ain't care about it. I nothing like no. But I definitely like made fun of him every time I seen him. Like,
well, but see, that's what I'm saying.
Because in my mind it was like, man, you ain't
because you have those instances, right, where you can make like just a flat out like, I mean, if that's you, like with Tiger Woods, you know what I'm saying, or OJ. I'm not black, I'm OJ. Okay. Nigga.
Okay.
You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
That's one thing, right? But you got more. There are more subtle instances of authenticity testing that I believe are important, crucial. So like, and I mean, I think we should. I think this is a good transition to this part of the conversation, specifically when we start talking about things like black politicians, like the Kamala Harrises of the world. Because there is yes, we were still talking about Kamala Harris because there is a conversation about her blackness and the truth behind it. Now, before we get into that conversation specifically, I'll say this: I believe that the authenticity test of blackness is how you orient yourself to it. How do you orient yourself towards the existence of blackness, towards the politics of blackness? And if you gotta ask, and this is where I definitely think that porn question is extremely relevant, because if you got to ask what the politics of blackness is, then you ain't like, we need you on that. You can go over there. You know what I'm saying? If you need to ask what the politics of blackness is, because you should know what black people are dealing with ultimately, at least on that level, right? So from that perspective, is the way that you orient yourself to blackness, the way that you orient yourself to the politics of blackness, to the struggle of black people, is a authenticity test to me. Which, because for niggas that say not all skin folk is your kin folk, that's an authenticity test right there. With George trying to be all polite and political, nigga, that's your favorite phrase.
Hey, but I mean, kind of bring to life what you're talking about, but in reverse, like what Kayla is saying in the comments is like she found out somebody's politics by surprise. You know what I'm saying? She said, I had a coworker who was like, I'm tired of being black and angry. And I was like, black? Turns out her dad was black. I promise you wouldn't have known if she didn't say anything.
And that's what I was saying about the racially ambiguous, because I do know his particular orientation. I feel like I'm married to a racially ambiguous person like a motherfucker. And I think that being in Oklahoma, I see a lot of I run into a lot of racially ambiguous black people. You know what I'm saying?
Hey, I can speak to that, yo. Like, no bullshit. Like, I know George. When I lived in Norman, me and Faith used to like to go get cake. No bullshit. We would just go get cake. Like, we would be chilling and be like, she'd be like, Dami, that's what she called me. She'd be like, do you want to go get some cake? I'm like, hell yeah, I love cake. We adults. We can go get whatever the fuck we want. We would go to Walmart and walking around Norman, Oklahoma, like we would get the looks. And George would tell me about how they would get looked at.
Me and Faith, that's me and Faith's life. Me and Faith looked at as an interracial couple. It was crazy is because my wife was raised by an old black woman from Mississippi. She got, I think, the black woman resentment for interracial couple. So for me, it's funny that she'll see a black man and a white woman and she'll talk just like some shit about it. Niggas love to get them a white bitch and some. You feel me? And then, but on another person, she'll be like, but that's how they looking at us. You know what I'm saying? And then we always laugh about it. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah, and it's real. Like, I mean, because ultimately, I ain't never like, you know, Faith is the home. Like, this is just the home girl. Like, this my sister. You know what I'm saying? We just at the store. I ain't thinking nothing of it. I just keep looking up and seeing like, yo, what is do I have something on my face? Like, is something wrong? My haircut? It's like, nah, they think you here with a white girl, boss.
Nah, literally a Mexican girl or a Native American girl. Goddamn.
But okay, but so from that standpoint, we talking about the orientation towards it. Now we can get into
clip, man.
Yeah, we can get it. We can
introduce the clip. So what we know is 2 days ago, Kamala Harris was announced as the vice president. I guess ticket with Joe Biden. And since that has happened, there has been a lot of conversations about Kamala's identity. Is she really black? Because as a matter of fact, we have a clip. I'm gonna let her give the background information on her own identity. Damo, you can play that clip whenever you get ready to play.
Yeah,
but when you listen to the clip, though, I want y'all to be thinking about with the conversation we having about the black identity, about the parameters of blackness, about authenticity testing blackness, and about being able to police somebody's identity. In terms of you ain't black or you
Kamala
black.
Harris is not African American. Her parents were immigrants from India and Jamaica, and she was raised in Canada, not the United States.
Can you hear it?
And it said "fat."
Yeah,
that's what the meme said.
So I was born in Oakland.
Yeah.
and raised in the United States, except for the years that I was in high school in Montreal, Canada. And look, this is the same thing they did to Barack.
Yes.
This is not new to us. And so I think that we know what they're trying to do. They're trying to do what has been happening over the last 2 years, which is powerful voices trying to sow hate and division among us. Mm-hmm. And so we need to recognize when we're being played.
I'm glad you mentioned Barack, because a lot of black people question if Barack was black enough. I see them doing the same thing to you. So what do you say to the people questioning the legitimacy of your blackness?
I think they don't understand who black people are. Because if you walked on Hampton's campus or Howard's campus or Morehouse or Spelman or Fisk, you would have a much better appreciation for the diaspora, for the diversity, for the beauty in the diversity of who we are as black people. So I'm not going to spend my time trying to educate people about who black people are. But I'm black.
Yes.
And I'm proud of being black.
Absolutely.
And I was born black. I will die black. And I'm proud of being black. I'm not going to make any excuses for anybody because they don't understand.
It sounds like the dead
person. Is not African American. Her parents were immigrants from India and Jamaica, and she was raised in Canada, not the United States.
Yeah, that's it. It's looped. Yeah. But that sounded like that. I think it was supposed to say by the know that I was born black. I'm gonna die black. Probably because I'm black. Probably know better than you. And it was literally somebody that looked like Faith that was arguing with somebody that looked like me about how. I was black. I was born black. I'm gonna die black. And it's probably a white person know I'm black, and they'll shoot me in the back of my head like they'll shoot you because they know I'm black before you knew this, that, and the other. And I feel like you can play with that and then, break it down and challenge if you want to. Whatever. But I find it's kind of what she said.
Toya,
what is the question?
He's more so trying to. breaking down breaking down like her response to that, right? Like her response to the questions of her blackness.
Is there anything that you would problematize that she said? Or is there most?
I mean, how you feel about her response? What you think about her response?
I feel like it was solid and appropriate, most importantly, because it is situated not just in feelings, oh, this is who I am, I'm an American, I'm this, that, and the other, but also she points to the historical playbook that they pull from. They did this to Barack. This is what they do, right? And so her not being all, I can't believe that they will say something like this. She said where I'm from, this is who I am, this is how I'm gonna live, this is how I'm gonna die, and this is old news. You know what I'm saying? And I think that type of confidence navigating it. But you're talking to a black woman who went from Oakland to damn Howard. You know what I'm saying? From sea to shining sea, she's been with niggas. You know what I'm saying? So in terms of her, I mean, you might not have liked the shot, but to say she wasn't shooting in the gym is just a lie. You know what I'm saying? Like it's not the truth.
Yeah, ultimately, I think the problem is that this is where authenticity testing becomes dangerous because we weaponize it for like silly, fallacious reasons. Weaponizing race against Kamala Harris does nothing. That's why I said it's about your orientation towards blackness and what's perceived as blackness, what's looked like.
Let me go and throw this in here too. I wish I had my phone. I would have played. I had the clip on my phone. My kids got my phone, but I know people gonna go back and play this of when Kamala was nominated to senator and she was identified as being the first Indian American senator. Her being identified as Indian American, in my opinion, in that instance, does not negate her blackness. You feel me? It's like in 2020, in 2016, in 2017, and 2018, people are able to recognize the multiplicity of their identities. So biracial people ain't got to choose no more. We ain't in 2000. We ain't in 1890. We're not in 1950. It was a one drop rule. And if you one drop of black, you gotta be black in every instance. It's like, hey, she not negate. You heard her say, I'm a black woman, this, that, and the other. But it doesn't negate that her mama is like from India. Like it doesn't negate that her mama.
I remember her daddy's from Jamaica.
It doesn't negate that shit.
You know what I'm saying? Her mama, like her daddy Jamaican, her mama was Indian.
I mean, but till you show the ubiquitous nature or the ever-extending infinite nature of anti-blackness and how it's not just situated on American black people, for example. Kayla says in her comment in her autobiography, she said her mother knew she was raising two black women because that's how they would both be viewed in India. So when you think about the capacity to blacken somebody, to make somebody black, to perpetuate anti-blackness against them, you see that this is cross-cultural. This is around the world a phenomena that whether we're looking at her Indianness or her Asianness, or whether we're looking at her blackness, it's all a conversation about anti-blackness and how it's being deployed against this black woman. So
that drop rule shit is global. Anti-blackness is global. Like,
let me do you one better. The one drop rule is a tool and a manifestation of of white supremacy. We buy into it.
Better than that. It is literally a tool of capitalism mixed with that white supremacy. That's how they was able to get their labor. It's like, damn, to make sure I never run out of labor. God damn it, if you got any drop of black in you, I can use you with some free labor.
So let me ask y'all this. Explain to me how again, so this is another layer, right? So you got the racists coming at Kamala. You have the people who focus on the record, who feel like that's the most important thing, and you have the questions of her blackness, right? And you have the questions of her blackness. And ultimately, how do we distinguish which one of these is the narrative? Is the narrative that we embrace during the election? Ultimately, because again, in the context of the election, holding her accountable while she's trying to get the office is literally saying you don't deserve it. We're already making the claim. If we're saying that her past and her history is something to critique her on right now, you're saying everything, but she doesn't deserve to be vice president.
I don't think they're saying that. I think that brings us to those models of accountability to me that are bad because it says that.
But it's during an election. Like that's what I'm saying. During an election,
it's more relevant because to me, I'm seeing what I pointed out in the debate is that we see that Kamala inherited a 50%, you know what I'm saying, prosecution rate through her being great at her job. In terms of being able to do the job, she was able to increase that to like 78. So when it comes to thinking about what it means for her to hold that position and how she's able to have the wheels of power, in my opinion, I think it is very relevant and very appropriate for us to have the conversation now in terms of what is you gonna do. Because in my opinion, going back to the shop to No Name, is like, hey, she showed us that in order for her to get to the position she has, she's had to have a disregard for the people that we saying now, once you get into this vice president position, we want you to now all of a sudden start caring about. It's been 16 years she's had a political career. She hasn't really cared about the type of niggas that we talking about in that whole time. I think it'd be kind of irrational, bro, to expect this old dog to all of a sudden start doing new tricks. You know what I'm saying? I hate to use that type of, over the black woman, but you know what I'm saying, as a country dude, for lack of better terms, that's how I would, you know what I'm saying, capitalize that off.
So we'll forgive you for that. But Toya, let me ask you this: how? Because we know how George feels. He won the debate. Okay. but how do you in a world where we're strategizing politically as black people? How do we orient ourselves towards this trifecta? Because for whatever reason, like this narrative is strong in one direction. So I mean, but before I kind of go in on that, I want you, from your perspective, when we're strategizing politically, how do we orient ourselves to this trifecta of criticism that's surrounding Kamala Harris?
I think you got to let the criticisms fly, but keep perspective. None of the things that we are saying about Kamala Harris, both holding in tension her past and also her potential, outweigh what we know we are in store for with a Donald Trump. You see what I'm saying? So it's all, and this is why, again, it sucks to be a black woman, to represent, and I mean me be a black woman, right? Because to represent the group of people who very much identify as the political and socio-political saviors of this country, right? Who time and time again have labored in very unique ways to make sure that everything from voting for Hillary Clinton over Donald Trump the first time around to being the ones who are filling in the gap and doing a lot of hard work and community building and holding down and organizing. Shout out to the leaders of Black Lives Matter, if you want an example for that, right? Black women have been carrying the load, right? And so as black women who carry the load, you get tired. Then as a woman, you like, okay, well, as a black woman looking at policing, right? I'm black, and I'm a black woman. So I have a social responsibility. I know I got to pick up society slack, but I'm still looking at what happens to my community and the policing that happens there. So I feel like I have a unique responsibility in the world. Well, let's be honest. Yes, we can talk about the youth that are politically active, but it's not quite enough to really shift and change the direction of a particular campaign. Let's talk about black people. Yeah, they vote, but they're not necessarily voting enough. Let's talk about the misled black men that are still invested in a whole lot of bullshit and misogyny. And 86% of them voted for Donald Trump last time. I still want to know what happened to why we won in the 90th percentile with black. So I look at all these overlaps, and I'm sympathetic to the arguments that we are brutalizing this woman and really fucking her up over her doing her job.
I'm
her job too well, right? We are literally clobbering her and brutalizing her when we really need to be talking a whole lot more about the terrible possibilities of some of these other people if they get more power. And so we made this decision when we saw Bernie drop out, right? We have to get off of our political high horses and make tough decisions. And I think that is still probably true. And I just hate the fact that as a black woman, I have to do this begrudgingly once again. I never get to be excited about participating. I mean, and I guess it's not unique because niggas ain't never been able to.
Yeah, that's what I was saying. We can't. Like, there's nothing to get. The excitement that we get at is literally mitigating. It's mitigating circumstances.
It's a trash position to be in, to know that we got to be the saviors of the world. And if we decide we're not going to save the world, that we literally perish with the world. So in order to save ourselves, we got to get in there and do a whole lot of shit that just feels real dirty, nasty, and wrong. Yeah. But it kind of is what it is.
Yeah. George?
I think that I am sympathetic to a lot of the criticisms that Kamala is having, because I feel like I'll be a fool to ignore the uniqueness of her being a black woman and how these criticisms is kind of being amplified against her as I feel like uniquely as being a black woman. But why am I froze? Can y'all hear me still?
You good? Yeah, you good.
I don't know what happened. But I think that in terms of this trifecta, for me, I feel like I hate to be like this too, man, but I
Be
think
like it, nigga. Be like it, nigga. That's what gives you.
I think that only one of the positions got real credence and credibility. I think that racists gonna be racist regardless, and whether they choose to be racist or not be racist, the criticism of Kamala's past does not go away. I think that people that want to launch these bullshit, shallow authenticity tests about she not being black because her mama from India, this, that, and the other. In my mind, people that saying stupid shit like that, they probably won't vote anyway. You know what I'm saying? So in my mind, I'm back to, you feel me, trying to figure out this. How do I sway people that are being very critical about Kamala's past in terms of being a prosecutor and prison labor and I'm saying all that shit, and being able to say, hey, but listen, I hear you. Those criticisms are, you know what I'm saying, they good. But let's compare it with Mr. Shit countries, ungrateful sons of bitches. I'm gonna ban all these Muslims. And in my opinion, when it comes to at this point, what's relevant, I think that you have to just position it to what we facing. In my opinion, to me, as somebody that's never voted in an election before, in 2020 gonna probably be my first presidential election I vote in my opinion, right now, how I wrap my mind around it is literally being like, so do I take the path of the prosecutor or do I take the path of Donald Trump? In my mind, I think I'm on some anti-black shit if I'm allowing for my criticism of this black woman to outweigh all the bad shit that goddamn Trump has done.
Let me say something though, because Carisha is like, it feeds the same narrative. The black women have to be 3 times as good to be good enough, and I agree, right? I've been really dealing with that and forcing myself out of even the internalized misogynoir that has me, you know, putting her nose to the ground. Misogynoir, hate for women, uniquely hate for black women. So misogynoir, right?
Which I've been pointing that out all day too. I also want to,
you know what I'm saying? Like it's just like I really have to even check myself and figure out what's internalized inside of me that has me so captivated her versus other people. Here's what's killing me, right? Well, I can't remember. I think this was Malcolm X that said, "I'd rather you know, lead a knife in my back than to pull it out 3 inches and call it progress," right? And so this is what burns me up. This is what burns me up. And it's hard. I'm having to choose between a Donald Trump I know is gonna do me wrong, and putting hope and faith in the Kamala Harris, who will own a breakfast show, say one thing and then go behind closed doors and do another. And that's what I'm telling y'all. That's where that is more hurtful to me. That's more disrespectful to me. You know what I'm saying? And that's where it starts to get whatever. And then when you look at me and tell me that I gotta, you know, put all of that aside and vote, you know, for the lesser of 2 evils, and we fall back into that rhetoric, it pisses me off. It makes me antagonistic. It makes me pessimistic. It makes me not want to participate in the ways you're telling me to do because I'm sick of that shit. So I'm sympathetic. Right, I get it, because it's around and around we go. Yeah. Right, and niggas hold on and break Adam Jackson, and you know what I'm saying? Like, they had a comment that specifically spoke to what not being fazed by federal kind of policies and living our lives, understanding that it's only going to dip down so hard or so close to our real lives. We should be focused on like kind of local politics and shit that is happening in our real lives, so we can't get warped and trapped up in these political conversations and fall for the lesser of 2 evils, right? And so looking at that, it's like, should I hold on and brace for dear life for another 4 years, or should I potentially play the game? Should I potentially buy in and tap into some bullshit and have somebody go behind closed doors and not represent me and my people's best interests? Because we know that's the option for her, right? That's where it gets hard.
Yeah, and because I'll say this, and then I got one thing I want to show y'all, and I'm gonna get y'all perspective on it.
Yeah, and then we can end it on that.
Yeah, I say this. I think that the decision is not really as hard as we make it. It's just biting the bullet is a bitch. It's ugly. No, I mean it really is. It's ugly pragmatism. And I get it. I agree.
Like, that's the best way to put it. Like,
yeah, really, I get it, y'all. Like, I really do. But I mean, I'm just much more in the direction of if I gotta deal with a bullshit politician that I'm gonna be spending my time cussing out anyway, I'd rather it be Kamala Harris. If I'm talking shit about the current vice president, I'd rather it be Kamala Harris than the dude that we got. You know what I'm saying? I mean ultimately, because the thing is, it's like I think she deserves the position more. So any criticism that it is like, okay, I just want you to do a good job. Like like we put you here, do a good job. You feel me? And I would much rather have that conversation with her
I think I said this too, though. I think this is what I couldn't speak to yesterday that I recognize right now is a kind of part of my kind of thing or whatever. I think that I think that this conversation is wrapped in a lot of classism, where we kind of think about what it means to be successful in America from a very, for lack of better terms, a very black middle class perspective in terms of how much do you have to play the game to be able to progress. And this is why I think I like Rashad's a lot of his commentary, but some of the commentary that he's been putting, I haven't been liking because it's like, okay, I get what you're saying, Rashad. On one instance, it's like, okay, somebody had to do this. No, it's not caring. No. On one instance, I recognize it's like, hey, there has to be a lot of hard decisions made to be able to get to where you got at. However, there's a lot of non-uniqueness in terms of who do you have to sacrifice in order to make these great decisions to look good. From that perspective, I feel like it's hard to try to resolve this because it's like, hey, this person has been able to muster up their success by being able to have to do what society say niggas supposed to be doing, supposed to light niggas up. They was able to master that. I hear you, Toya. What does it mean for George to say this black woman, we should be critical of this black woman because she did her job too good? I hear that. I hear rhetorically even how they even make it be like, damn, they sound weird. So you hold this black woman accountable. You said she should be held accountable because she did her job too good.
You ultimately hold her accountable for the structures of white supremacy.
I hear that. However, to me, the criticism needs to go away. If I am one of the people that was living in California and my child was on truancy and I had whatever going through and I had to go to give me a lawyer and have to go to that shit and call out for work,
you ain't trying to hear that shit.
I ain't trying to hear that shit. If I got a nigga that, you know what I'm saying? I was ready to throw my going home party and I said, release date say Tony coming home on August 5th. Well, Kamala had a little thing. Kamala said, my cousin got to stay in to September 1st because she needs to labor. I don't give a fuck about what y'all trying to say it out. I'm thinking about my cousin. So I'm looking at it from that perspective. Free all my niggas that's locked up for non-violent victimless crimes. I ain't trying to be sensational when I say that, but it's shit that I'm thinking about. It's joke about smoking weed after she talked about criminal.
Yeah, but see, then that's when you was on the road, and then you went to the. We get it. She pandered. She pandered.
No, it's standard, fam. It's
go out on a strong note.
To me, it's what I'm thinking about, though.
I know that, but you was on a strong note. That last one was a strong one because that's a good point. Like ultimately, but that's why I said, how do you be anti-black in a job that demands it of you? And we need black politicians. That's the dilemma. Yeah, it's an ugly pragmatism.
With no clear answer. It's obviously, I think.
Yeah, that's why not even they be saying like being politically pragmatic. No, it's ugly pragmatism. It's ugly. There's no clear. It's a con to lose situation. Now I want to show y'all this before we close out. I want to show this one thing pertaining to the topic.
I'm just curious for Toya specifically. Toya, specifically to you, how do you position like your morals and ethics when it comes to you kind of analyzing these politicians? Because to me, I feel like that's at the core of this. Like,
you don't, or that ain't to me.
I
asked Toya and I ain't asked your ass.
I know that's you ain't asked me. Go ahead, Toya.
You can't, and it's terrible. Like I really wish I had the luxury of voting how I felt. We just don't. Kayla said it best, and that's why I kind of set up because I'm like, "Hey man,
Kayla, you been in the comment section. She's been
on the point though. She's been on the point. Appreciate you, Kayla, for joining us. Everybody in the chat.
I couldn't even bring myself to be happy about her being chosen for vice president because I'm trapped between my desire to see black women win and not wanting black women to play the game to do it. And that's what I'm just like. We are black women are superior beings. You heard it here first. I said it. I meant it. We are bad in all ways, shape, forms, and fashion. And so to see that a black woman has to play the game, and I gotta recognize that and celebrate that when we can play above the board and change games and change the world and change life. With I hate the fact that we even gotta associate ourselves with such a thing. You know what I'm saying? So it pisses me off to recognize. It's so weird to recognize how amazing it is. Right, to see a black woman like you, I'm a black girl who was told my whole life you need to run for something, you need to go do something, and I made strategic decisions to pick principles over my own path. I was supposed to be a city council person, a mayor. I'm supposed to be halfway running Kansas City right now. If it was up to half of the people who mentored me growing up, leading community work, I was 15, 16 years old. You know what I'm saying? So I had to make decisions in my personal life. And it's like to see that I had to make decisions for myself and my path to pick principle over politics and to look up and the leaders who do finally get up there, then I can't even rely on you to do it right. So I still got to choose between principles. It's exhausting. As a Black woman, it's doubly exhausting because that hero that we get is always gonna come with an asterisk every single time.
Always, yeah.
And the heartbreaking part is the same way Black people are gonna have to tell their Black kids Barack Obama butt is the same way Black women gotta look at each other, little Black girls, and be like Kamala Harris butt. You know what I'm saying? Be honest about the system and regime of power that she signed onto. That shit is trash.
Yeah.
So it's rough.
So last thing I'm gonna do, and I just want y'all to just judge this statement. It's a meme. And y'all know I'm definitely against meme scholarship. I hate meme scholarship. You niggas learn too much. Not you, not my wonderful co-host. My wonderful co-host is studied. But you niggas out there, y'all learn too much from memes. And that's the problem. So what we're gonna do, I'm gonna show a meme. And I want y'all to rate it, whether it's real shit or bullshit meme scholarship. All right, y'all ready? Let's get it in.
Little memesucation.
Shout out to my uncle. I got this from his page. He said, just so I'm clear, we loving Cardi and Megan, but we hating Kamala. Just so I'm clear, we loving Cardi and Megan, but we hating Kamala. To add context, a part of the conversation that's been happening right now, a large part of the conversation that's been happening right now has been the respectability politics that's been forced upon Cardi B and Megan and Megan Thee Stallion as associated with the video and the song known as WAP. And for those that should know what that means, knows what that means, so it needs no clarification. So in the context of people defending WAP, but tearing down Kamala and her past and all of that, is this meme real shit or bullshit meme scholarship?
I think it's real shit. I think it's real shit.
Okay, so you say real shit. We got one real shit, George.
I think it's real shit.
George?
Man, I'm conflicted because to me it seems like I'm conflicted because to me the dualism seems to be structured by our respectability politics. To me, it seems to be seeing like so we defending the hoes, but y'all tearing down the politician, respectable woman. I don't know. I'm conflicted.
I can see that. Here's why I'm like it's fair, and it's solid, and it's because I'm conflicted on both sides of both issues. Right, I'm completely for, and this is just my brand of Black feminism. So pick it apart if you want to. I'm about Black women and women in general having the ability to choose what they want to do with their body, to have agency, to have sexual agency, to be deviant beings, and to have deviants be marked on their bodies and not be read as deviant, to be read as being and existing. I completely believe that in terms of my politics. I believe in sex work. I believe in home. I believe in all of that. Do what you want to with your body. It's not my business until I make it that way. And we'll
sometimes I'm too childish for these overly intellectual sexual conversations. My little kid kick is like, she said.
That being said, a crucial component of feminism, and that I still value and feel like is validated, is the objectification of women in their bodies and the ways that we have come to orient ourselves toward women's bodies and see and understand those. And I hate the fact that women are forced into a positionality where they feel like their only option is their body, right? It's not, women are taught a version of feminism or a version of existing that is only your body, as opposed to what WAP represents, which is your body is one of your options, right? So I recognize and kind of identify with that version of feminism, but don't identify with the version that forces women into positions where their bodies have to be objectified, and we have to show our bodies and have to be overly sexual, and we have to feed into the stereotype of hypersexualization because it is projected on us that that's all we're good for. Similar to Kamala, Black women leading, Black women taking control, Black women being in the front, Black women showing how it's done, Black women being able to talk that shit, Black women about to tear up Mike Pence in a debate. I'm excited for it all. But when I got to realize that my roots is all for the wrong team. So again, I'm conflicted. The same way I am with WAP in bodies is the same way I'm conflicted with Black women in power. You can be in power and be in power for the wrong side and the wrong team. I can't get overwhelmed in that. You know what I'm saying? My favorite kind of show growing up was Power Rangers, and I didn't think Rita was black, but I knew she wasn't white, and I was like, this non-black lady is fucking shit up, and it's kind of cool. But at the same time, I'm supposed to be on the side of the Power Rangers. I'm conflicted.
Remember, Zach was black. I wasn't conflicted. Hell, Zach was black. Goddamn, and so he fought for Angel Grove.
When I look at both sides of it, I see and tap into, identify with kind of both sides of the criticism, which is why I feel like it's fair game and fair play.
And so actually, I go with that because my mixed feelings mean it's fair play too. Because I feel like my mixed feelings go on there too. Then
I mean, it's a point to be made, but it's also that same point could be like bastardized. Somebody could make a point on some whole shit, even like utilizing that argument.
And point blank,
Iggy, man, you mentioned how long is the Power Rangers technically police?
I mean, in theory,
yeah, nigga. Yes, they had badges. What you mean?
They fight bad guys. They are the ones who look at the putties and say, "You gray niggas is linked up. It's too many of y'all. Let's fight." Like, yeah, they're the police.
But we are not about to victimize putties at the end of this episode. We've been rocking out. We've been getting down. And now we victimizing the putties.
Identifying the moving pieces, sure. I'll grant you that and still be like, shit, Angel Grove.
The police, I ain't know that.
There's anti-blackness at Angel Grove. Prove it. And then we'll go back and talk about it.
I mean, Angel Grove was probably racist as hell, but
Zach was the only nigga. Look, I just like the Power Rangers, and I'm not afraid.
Right. Actually, me and Toya and I actually went to see the Power Rangers movie when it came out.
Period.
Yeah. So it is what it is. Hey, but man, this was a wonderful.
Damn, y'all.
I told you they had badges, bro. It's morphin' time.
I do not believe in ACAB. All police are not bad. The Power Rangers were good.
Hey, if I'm not gonna go as far as say that, but I rock with the Power Rangers. Hey, we're glad that all of y'all was able to join this conversation, man. I'm glad y'all was able to tune into the debate yesterday, and we was able to carry it on over here. Again, if you missed the debate, you can find it. If you want to watch us, I know I'm handsome. I get it. You want to see me speak the words? Go to YouTube. Go to Facebook. Right? It's there. You can watch us. If you need something in the background while you cooking, cleaning, on your way to work, you just need something playing, you can find us on Spotify. You can watch it on you can listen to it on iTunes. We there. Blog Talk Radio. We there. You feel me? Please subscribe to the YouTube page at The Chop Up Show on YouTube. Follow us on Spotify. The Chop Up Show on Spotify. Make sure you following us on iTunes, Apple Podcasts. Again, The Chop Up Show. It's the same thing. Anywhere you find anything, look up The Chop Up Show, and we there. We won't. Chop. We trying to have. Listen, we want conversations, guests, topics, all of that. Actually, you can also reach us for any business concerns at business@thechopupshow.com. That is business at thechopupshow.com. Yes, we got the website is coming soon. We got the domain and everything.
We definitely appreciate you, Caleb.
You know what I'm saying?
Man, I ain't no cop, man. I just feel like I'm just so simple-minded in this instance. I never thought about the Power Rangers being cops at all. Like it never crossed my mind. Like,
hey, well, I'm gonna school this nigga. I'm gonna school him. Because he needs to learn. Because we're gonna stop disrespecting the Power Rangers and calling them cops. Let's just do that first. Let's just do that first. But hey, glad y'all was able to join in the conversation. Again, you will also find these pieces, the pieces of this conversation, also on Spotify, iTunes, everywhere else. Y'all got anything y'all want to say to the people before we close out?
Wash your ass, man. Wash your ass, man. This is a friendly reminder to wash your ass. If you ain't washed your ass lately, wash it. You feel me?
I'm sick of being on punishment. Let's wrap this shit up.
Wash your ass and wear your mask. Hey, you know what? Wash your ass and wear a mask.
Nah, that's how you get hung up on.
Hey, what is it? I seen it. Don't wear a bra, but wear a mask. Free the titty, save the city. That's
free the. Hey, I'm with it. No bras, wear a mask. Free the titty, save the city. Let's get it cracking. Y'all know what it is. Make sure y'all follow us everywhere. This is the Chop Up.
Chop, baby.